Cringe, bro. Somewhere along the line, it became common to begin throwing around the word cringe much more frequently than in the past. And now, what I've began to notice is that so many people are deathly afraid of the cringe. And it's becoming clearer and clearer to me that this is actually a net negative for our society, which is already suffering from a lack of original artists and creativity. I want you to think for a second about all the great pieces of art you enjoy, from video games to music to movies to stand-up comedy, all the way to your favorite YouTube videos or internet personalities, and realize that you're only seeing a sliver of what is possible. Because for every successful artist, I believe you could find at least a dozen more who have allowed fear of cringe to dissuade them from ever creating anything. Many truly hilarious stand-up comics have never gone on stage. Many gifted speakers have stayed quiet. Many talented musicians have hung up their instruments and wasted away, never having produced the music that they were capable of that would have potentially uplifted millions. I believe, in summary, that we have lost many great artists to the fear of cringe. The fear that whatever it is that you're producing may not be immediately perfect. It may be a little rough around the edges, and that perhaps some people will be turned off by that, and they'll think, oh, this is cringe, bro. So you never do anything. All because of this fear, you never create anything. You never speak out. You never do anything against the grain. And you've stifled your passions, and you've chosen to not share your gifts with the world and fulfill your destiny. This is unacceptable. We must defeat the fear of cringe. We must realize that it's really not that big of a deal, and it's likely that there's going to be an element of cringe to what you want to do, especially in the beginning. You see, when a lot of us first jump on board the train of whoever it is that we enjoy, we're often seeing the later refined product, whether this is a streamer or an artist or whatever it is, and it becomes easy to forget that everyone started somewhere, and it's likely in the beginning there was this element of what we would call cringe, right? But these people, they just did it anyway. And you know what? It's really not that bad. Obviously, if your idea is you want to wear clown shoes to school and that's your only trade or whatever, then that might actually be pretty cringe for real if that's all you're offering. But if you truly have an idea or a passion or something you'd like to share, and it's something that you're earnestly working on, and you share it, odds are that while there may be a small element of cringe to it, it's going to be eclipsed by the support that you will receive and by your own satisfaction of overcoming that fear. You see, the thing is, people are surprisingly supportive when they can sense that someone is putting in an honest effort into something. And as time goes on, you're going to begin to realize that there's two types of people, two types of these friends, you could say. There are the friends who, whenever you try to do something that is outside of your norm, of what they've come to expect from you, of who you were when they first met you, they almost want to keep you in that box where they feel the most comfortable. And as long as you're not doing anything too spicy or too interesting, too outside of the norm, they'll seem to treat you fine. But as soon as you try to do something that moves the needle a bit, they're going to switch up on you. Like, you want to start a fitness Instagram page or something, right, where you've been working hard and you're looking good and you're like, man, I've been seeing some people making these big accounts on IG and they're flexing, and if they can do it, maybe I can do it. Or you're like, you know, man, I really like singing, and in this digital age, all you really need is some basic programs and a nice microphone, and so I'm just going to start a singing YouTube channel where I do covers of some songs I really like. You know, something like that, that truly has the potential to come from the heart, something that is welling up inside you, that you almost need to just let it out, but it also is something that, because you're so new to it, has this potential for cringe to a degree. What you're going to quickly find out is that there's these two types of friends out there. It's the ones who, when you tell them that you want to start the singing YouTube channel, they're like, oh, you're a singer now, huh? And then there's the type of person who pretty much whatever it is you're trying to do, they decide to say, you know, that's dope, man, that's awesome, and they're very supportive. You're going to start to see that there's these two types of people. When you boil it down, as I've talked about before, we live in a world of polarity, right? Negative or positive, either moving in one direction or the other. And when you boil it down, you realize that these little criticisms, these little jabs, are not them looking out for your best interest, but simply a form of negativity. You've stirred something inside of them, and it actually makes them feel a bit uncomfortable when they see other people reaching out towards the light, trying to do something interesting, and perhaps even unconsciously, because many people are unconscious, they sort of want to stop you. So that's where these little jabs, these little remarks come in. Oh, you want to wear that, huh? Look at this show off. Oh, you're an influencer now, apparently. It is all just kind of coming from a place on their end where they're a little uncomfortable, because it's likely that they too have something deep down that they would like to do, that they are struggling to find the courage to express. And maybe they've decided it'll never happen, and they're just resigned to repressing that part of themselves. So when they see someone who isn't willing to do that, who isn't willing to fall in line the same way that they did, it makes them very uncomfortable, because you're highlighting their own fears and you're highlighting their own shortcomings. I think this is really the basis of the hater, crabs in a bucket mentality, that you're sort of irritating them in a way. And that's why you see a lot of the times the haters are actually more inspired to reach out to you and write comments, stalk you around or whatever, than the people who like you or don't mind you, because it's the haters, or not even the haters, but just sometimes these weird people in your life, we'll call them, that are the ones who are being the most affected by you more than the people who are supportive. So you have these types of people, but you also are going to find that there's this other group of people who are actually very supportive. And it's likely with this second group that they are a much more happier kind of person in general. And they're probably the type of person you're going to realize, if you're really the creative type, that you're going to want to be around more and more. These people may be working on some things themselves, or they're just happier in general, which leads to overall less of a desire to be criticizing others. I don't want to get into it too much in this video, but that's sort of a golden rule, is that people who are very set on criticizing others usually are far less happy than people who are encouraging others. And you don't often see someone who's doing well in life that is sitting around trying to make you feel bad for doing whatever it is you're trying to do to express yourself. So in short, with that, don't worry too much about these people coming out of the woodwork to criticize you. They're just oftentimes very vapid people in general, and realize that there's going to be a rough period with whatever it is you want to start, and it's probably just simply inevitable. And as I spoke about in my previous video, things are hardest in the beginning, and you just need to resign yourself to the fact that it's going to be hardest and it's going to be the strangest at first, when you're still getting all the technical details, still improving your skills, still taking those baby steps. You wouldn't really call a baby's first steps cringe, right? It's just simply learning to walk. All your favorite artists, they didn't start off amazing. You found them after they became amazing. But everyone had a learning period, a learning to walk period, and they were simply mentally strong enough to go through it and not care about this fear of cringe or whatever the losers thought of them. So that's really it. The fear of cringe is holding so many people back, and it must stop. We need to become a more supportive group of people, not to be confused with tolerance, because I think that's a little overrated sometimes. If someone's being an obvious degenerate, you should tell them. But if someone's just simply giving it their best effort to express their souls, and the thing that they're doing is maybe a little bit rough around the edges, we should support that person, because I think that's a person who honestly has a lot of courage to say, this is something I want to do, this is me being authentic to myself, and this is more important to me than what Jerry over there is going to think. So cringe isn't that bad. Most people, once you start, you're going to find are pretty chill. I'm not unaware, for example, that this YouTube channel could in some ways exude a small amount, very small, right? Because I'm very charismatic, and when you're charismatic, the cringe factor goes way down. But I'm aware that this channel could exude a very small amount of what some could call cringe. It's like, who is that guy, right? Nobody knows him. He wants to talk over Elden Ring footage and talk to people about self-improvement. That sounds kind of cringe, man. But I just did it anyway. And yeah, there's the odd hater here and there, and I invite them, and I think they could probably use my content more than anyone. But for the most part, people are surprisingly very cool. Like, go look at my most popular videos. It's just going to be full of people who are very supportive. This is just what happens. Most people are nice. Go look at some of these channels where people sing and they do covers, even the ones that aren't super well produced or have like huge followings. Most people are pretty supportive and nice, and the ones that aren't, they kind of look like the odd ones out. It's like, why do you even care? After a certain amount of time goes by, you find your footing, you get established, you gain a following, and that cringe factor begins to dissipate more and more. Suddenly you're not speaking to just yourself, you're not creating videos or whatever just for yourself, but you have an audience now, and that cringe factor goes down. Once again, it's hardest in the beginning, and you're just going to have to resign yourself to that and start putting in some work. And you break through that little barrier, and things get more natural, things get easier. It simply comes down to putting in work. What do you think was more cringe, right? Like a band's first ever live performance or their 100th? The first was the hardest, obviously, but they had a mission, they had a goal, and they didn't let cringe stop them. That's another thing, right? Cringe is just a feeling. It's just a little tinge of embarrassment or something. Are you going to let a little feeling stop you from doing what you want? This is how weak a lot of people have gotten, that they say they really want something, but really they just like the idea of it. Because if you say you want something great for your life, something out of the ordinary, something extraordinary, the universe will say, okay, but I'm going to test you. There is a law of equivalent exchange in place here, and you cannot have something for nothing. You cannot simply desire something and have it. There needs to be sacrifice. What is your sacrifice? The universe says, okay, how about this? Let's make a deal here, right? You say you really want X. So to see if you really want it, let's make you feel a little bit of that cringe. Let's make you feel a little bit of that embarrassment, that thing that you're putting out there, right? It might have the potential to allow people to make fun of you, right? And immediately they're like, okay, never mind. I can't handle it. I like Kmart more. Nobody judges me at Kmart. I mean, they do. They don't vocalize it, but I feel more comfortable there. And the universe says, okay, fair enough, whatever you want. But you have failed the test. You said you wanted something, but you can't even withstand a little bit of feelings to get it. Think of how much people sacrificed in the past for the things they wanted. They went off to war, right? They lost eyeballs and limbs. They came back disfigured, and they didn't even complain because that's just how things were. And they knew that there was a great fight to create the reality that they wanted. And you can't even withstand a few snarky comments on your social media. So good. You won't get what you want if that's not the case. You're not putting in enough work. You need to go harder. You need to make some waves. And when you make some waves, people's attention turns towards you, right? And that's what you really wanted, you said. So you need to be ready for that. And you need to be happy about that. So that's it, guys. You must defeat your fear of the cringe. Don't be an idiot out there. Don't be running around live streaming yourself, acting like a fool just to get attention. Those kind of people are absolute ingrates. But don't be scared to share your gifts. Everyone is scared into silence these days, and I've had enough of it. Haven't you? That's it for the video, everyone. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please like and subscribe and leave a comment. I desperately want to know what you have to say about all this. When you do those things, it makes the video stronger, more powerful. It can go out and it can reach more and more people. So tell me anything you want. Comment an emoji of a duck, whatever you want. Actually, if you're listening to this right now, do that. Comment an emoji of a duck if you have nothing else to say. And please follow me on X. The future of the internet is uncertain, and I'd like to have some eggs in multiple baskets. So follow me there. And I post a lot of, self-improvement posts and Easter eggs for upcoming videos. And if you'd like, I am open to you even DMing me to ask me a question. And if it's a good one, I may post a video about it. So that's it, everybody. Appreciate you watching. Thank you. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.